Hello, welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about the loneliness in a level up. If you're new around here, my name is Cera. I'm a certified life and business coach. I help creative, spiritual practitioners and heart-centered service providers build the lives and businesses of their dreams. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss it when I upload my weekly videos. I'm really excited that you're here. And as always, if anything that I say is interesting for you or resonates with you, leave me a comment. I love to talk with you guys in the comments. So with that being said, I just want to jump into today's topic. So if you have an immediate, I know what you're talking about when I say the loneliness in the level up, I'm glad you're here. If you're like, what are you talking about? I have encountered, and every one of my clients, everyone that I know has encountered this phenomenon of growth, whether that's personal growth, business growth, spiritual growth, coming with leaving people behind, leaving relationships behind, losing people, why that happens and how it happens and how scary it is. So I want to give a little example. I want to tell you a little story. It's a short story. But recently I was working with a private coaching client, and this client has a pattern. She's been in business for a long time, and every time she gets close to a launch, so she'll build a product, she'll plan out the launch, and then when she starts getting close to executing the launch, what tends to happen for her, the pattern she encounters, is that she suddenly starts having tons of ideas for other things that she could do. And she follows those ideas. She gets a little bit distracted. Then she overwhelms herself. She starts overcomplicating things. And next thing you know, she has completely ghosted the launch of the first product that she was working on. And then, like 6 months later, she's right back where she started. And she's like, oh, I have to go back. I have to start again. I have to do this all over again. And this keeps happening for her. And it's part of why we're working together, is to get her through that hiccup. And when those things happen as a coach, what I know is that they're a symptom, right? The fact that your brain is looking for new ideas right before you go into your launch is your brain trying to protect you, trying to do something that it thinks is very wise to keep you from doing something that it thinks is very dangerous. And so we have to figure out. My hair is distracting me, and I apologize if I keep messing with it. It's like getting stuck in my lotion. We have to figure out what this is a symptom of, because the real issue is not the new ideas. It's why is this coming up at this point every time you're about to launch? And so in our coaching work, we started digging. I was asking questions. We were doing a bunch of different techniques. And essentially what we uncovered is what you might call a fear of success. But that fear of success was rooted in this idea of, I'm going to lose people. If things get really good in my business, then things are good in every area of my life. And then I have nothing to complain about. And, maybe you complain with your family, and that's the primary way that you bond. And if you no longer get together with your family and complain about how hard everything is and how things are really a struggle, then what are you going to talk about? Maybe it's that you have friends and all of your friends are struggling financially, and they all get together and complain about how much they hate their jobs and how hard everything is financially. And if you're doing really well financially, you will no longer relate to those people, and you won't have anything to talk about with them. I know for me, a simple example is when I had my teaching job, I had friends who taught at the same school as me. And when I left that teaching job to go all in on my business, I was really determined to keep those friends. And for a little while, if I had a party or something like that, they would come. And over time, that stopped happening. And we just drifted apart. And it wasn't because we didn't like each other, but I'm just no longer there. I don't see them at school. We don't live close by. We don't have as much in common anymore. A big part of our friendship was that we worked at the same place. We saw each other at one location. We had school in common. We could talk about our students and the administration. And that was a primary, glue of our friendship, was that we all worked at this place together. And so once I no longer worked there, it was really hard to keep that friendship together. It just drifted apart. As a more kind of pointed example, I used to, in my life, be way more of a partier, and I had friends where what we did together was like we were out at night and we were partying and we were going to clubs and we were drinking and doing drugs and getting into trouble when I was much younger. And when I started really changing my life and getting serious about school and pursuing my interests and personal development and feeling like, I want to get up early and I want to exercise in the morning and I want to be focused and clear-headed for my goals. And I started getting more involved in the things that I was really interested in outside of partying and doing drugs. What happened with those people is that they felt like I was judging them. I was not judging them. I was right there with you a couple weeks ago. I don't care what you do. I'm just doing what I want to do. But they went into a story of, you think you're better than us now. You don't like us anymore. You have your new friends. You don't need us, right? And this kind of reaction, I think, is really what we get afraid of when we're afraid of losing people, right? There's a thing, if you're an artist, if you're a creative and all of your friends are starving artists, there's this thing about like not selling out. And the idea that if you start becoming a commercially successful creator and you start making money from your art, you are now very different than your friends who are really struggling financially. They're not getting by. And especially if they're all getting together and telling stories to each other and reinforcing the story that it's impossible to make money from your art, and that's why we're not making money from ours, and that the system is rigged and everything is stacked against us and there's no way to make this work, but at least we have each other. You starting to make money, you becoming successful is confronting to that story. And then we have a crossroads, right? When people feel confronted that the story they tell themselves is being visibly disproven by your success, right? Oh, now you're making more money. So all the stories I tell myself about how it's impossible to make money in this field might not be true because it's working for you, but not for me. Oh, now you're not partying with us all night anymore. And so the story that I'm telling myself about how this is okay because there's no point in focusing on anything anyway because the world's fucked up, maybe doesn't make sense anymore, or maybe it's not true, or maybe you don't believe it. Um, I am in a worldview that says that like everything is so hard all the time and everyone has to struggle and that money comes from hard work and that there's no way to get ahead. So you starting to build a successful business makes me see that maybe some of my beliefs are not true. Cognitive dissonance, right? And one of the issues that we have, that humans have with cognitive dissonance, is that cognitive dissonance will shut down your critical thinking when you feel threatened. Your body will just take over sometimes and be like, no, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to be confronted with it. This is very uncomfortable for me. My worldview, the stories that I tell myself about how the world works and how things operate are suddenly being shaken. And that can be really uncomfortable. We actually have to practice this skill. If you went to college, maybe you took a critical thinking class. I took a critical thinking class. I really enjoyed critical thinking. We have to be trained into sitting with and being present with the discomfort that happens in our brain when we're presented with information that challenges our view of the world. And I share this because I think it's helpful to understand why people have this reaction. Because when we don't understand why people have this reaction, it's really easy to take their reactions personally. And when we're taking their reactions personally, it's easy to push away our own success, delay our own level ups, push away our own growth because we're afraid of the consequences, of the fallout of what may happen in our interpersonal relationships. Now, sometimes this fallout is real. Sometimes we know based on the kind of person that we're dealing with, based on things we've seen them do with other people, sometimes we just know, man, the second I tell this person I'm starting a business, or the second I stop complaining about this thing with this person, the second I stop engaging with them in this way on this topic, they're gonna reject me. They're not gonna like me. They're gonna push me away. They're going to be angry at me. They're going to say bad things about me. I know this is going to happen. And it may not be conscious, but we just like kind of, we know it. And so we are avoiding it or trying to maneuver in such a way to avoid that happening because we want to avoid pain. We're literally wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain as mammals. It's like what we're set up to do. It takes a willingness and a lot of courage to uncover that belief that's operating underneath our behavior, to look at it, to sit with it, and to say, okay, yeah, this might happen. And then I get to make a decision. Is this relationship so important to me that I'm willing to sacrifice what I want? I'm willing to sacrifice my goals. I'm willing to sacrifice my growth. I'm willing to sacrifice my success in order to stay connected with a person that I know does not have the capacity or the capability to be happy for me or proud of me when I grow, because they are living in a paradigm where my growth and my success will be taken as a threat. That is the option that's on the table. Am I willing to give up my growth path to stay in relationship with someone who can't be happy for me? And if the answer is no, then we have to start taking the steps to grow. And when that person, if they have this reaction that we expect them to have, we might have to let that relationship go. Now, sometimes we think this might happen and it doesn't. We're wrong, right? We're expecting the worst, but it doesn't happen. Sometimes people really surprise us and we start growing and we start changing and they are happy for us and they do support us and they do go, wow, it's so amazing to see you grow. And those are the people that get to keep going with us along our path. But I'm bringing this up because I think it's really common and I see it a lot. And I think it's important to bring compassion to the fact that belonging and inclusion is a core need for us. We do need people. We need to feel included. We need to belong. We do desire approval and acceptance. And that is not a bad thing. That's not a weakness. That's not something that's wrong with us. It's kind of what is the word that I want? I was going to say pathological, but then the other word, psychopathic. There we go. It's a little psychopathic to be like, I do not care at all in any way, right? If people who really mean it, they genuinely do not care at all in any way what anyone thinks of them, or if anyone likes them, or if they're like loved or cared about or approved of or included. Those people don't have regular human emotions. They probably like torture animals. Sorry, like that was far. But you know what I'm saying? Like it is a healthy, developmentally correct thing as a human being to care about being included, to care about belonging, to care about being approved of, especially by the people we care about. Obviously, we don't want to assign a lot of care about belonging or inclusion or being approved of to like strangers or trolls on the internet, but to our friends and our family, people to whom we've invested a lot of time and energy and our love, people we really care about, not wanting to be rejected by those people or abandoned by those people, especially not wanting to be rejected or abandoned for pursuing things that make us happy, is completely logical. It is completely normal that you would feel that way. It is healthy that you would feel that way. And I just want to kind of like give that grace if you feel like you need it to hear, like, it's not a bad thing that we would not want to be rejected or abandoned by people we care about, and that we would not want to lose relationships as we pursue our growth. And we want to be able to hold that and to hold it with tenderness and to hold it gently, while at the same time recognizing there's that saying that people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. There are a lot of people who have not met themselves very deeply. There are a good number of people who don't do a lot of introspection or a lot of personal growth work, who don't spend a lot of time examining their own emotional reactions to things. There are many people who live in a reactive way, who are quick to make everything other people's fault and to justify their emotional reactions to things, who are quick to blame or vilify others rather than taking accountability. There are many people who live in a story of victimhood and abandonment themselves, who may take someone else growing, changing, succeeding as an attack or a criticism on them. And rather than having the presence to pause and say, why am I taking this person's growth this way? This is unfair. I need to look at myself and what's going on with me that causes me to be angry or hurt or feel rejected by my friend succeeding. It's easier for them to say you don't like them anymore, or to say you think you're better than them, or to say, you have gone off and forgotten where you came from, to say that you're a sellout, to say that whatever it is that they feel like they need to say to justify and rationalize why it would be okay for them to persist in their worldview and reject you in order to keep their worldview safe. And we have to understand that this is what's happening so that we can be compassionate for them, not for their benefit, but for our own. So with the sadness of needing to leave these relationships behind, we need to grieve. There is grief with our growth in the same way that there may be loneliness with the level up. I love an alliteration. I think it's an assonance, though. I think it's only an alliteration if both of the things start with vowels. I'm a nerd. When we know and normalize that at every new level we are shooting for and that we achieve, there may be some people that we know and love from our previous level who will not be like we can have people who grow with us, and then there's one step where they're like, that's the one I can't take with you. One step too far. Along the way, we may lose people. And when I say may, I mean it's almost guaranteed that you will. It's so important that we know this and that we normalize conversations about it, that we give ourselves grace and compassion around the idea that we're not doing anything wrong by growing, by succeeding, by pursuing our dreams. We are not rejecting them. What's actually happening is that they are rejecting us because they would rather protect their view of things than stay in our lives and allow our growth to inspire them. And that is painful. And so we also need to normalize the discussion around grief in growth, around grief in success, around loss of relationships as we grow. Because if we are afraid that it's going to happen, we can hold ourselves back from taking the steps we need to take to pursue our dreams and to be as big as we really want to be in the world so that we can stay in these relationships. We can also think that there's something wrong with us, that we keep losing people because we're like, this must just be me. This can't be normal that I would lose this many friends or like this many people would stop dealing with me over time. What's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. You're just growing. We may feel really hurt and bitter toward people and start to build up some calluses around being willing to open ourselves up to new friendships and new relationships because we're afraid of this pattern repeating. I think it's important that we all are clear with ourselves that even if there are people who decide they cannot come with us on our path to success, we love them and we wish they could, and we want them to, and we're invited, and they're invited. But that we are not willing to sacrifice pursuing our goals, our dreams, and our success to keep them comfortable. And that is not our job. It's not our obligation. This is where we get into healthy boundaries. I have a course called Boundaries for Business Owners that really gets into this, right? Because what's happening in this case is a boundarylessness, is I'm going over into your emotional world and I'm making your emotional comfort my job versus like my growth and my success is my job and your emotional comfort around me and my life is your job. And I don't need to manage that for you, right? I'm not trying to hurt you, so I don't need to manage that for you. And that course is Pay What You Can. You can grab it for $1. I'll just put the link in the show notes. You can pay whatever you want for it. But it's very helpful. So if you're relating to this conversation, make sure you grab Boundaries for Business Owners. What this really is a boundary issue. I need to feel clear and comfortable with knowing where my responsibilities end and your responsibilities begin. And my responsibility is to pursue my goals and my dreams, go for my success, and tend to my heart when I feel sad about other people not being able to come with me, make space for my grief, try to find new people at my current or next level to engage with so that I don't feel so lonely in my pursuits, find other people who are actively living on a growth path so that I don't feel so lonely in my pursuits, because other people who are oriented in this way are more likely to be able to be happy for us and support us as we are on our growth path. That's my responsibility. The people who are having negative reactions to our growth have their own responsibilities. And really, it's to figure out why they're doing that and to take the steps that they need to be able to take to allow the people in their lives to grow and change and to be able to keep growing with them. But that's not anyone's to manage but theirs. It's not yours to manage. It's not mine to manage. My sweet client who was struggling, it's not hers to manage. So in our work together, we did a bunch of stuff to really shore up that boundary and help her feel safe to take these next steps, knowing that A, there are some people she will not lose that will be happy to grow with her and who will be able to cheer for her and succeed alongside her, and that there may be people who are incapable of continuing with her on that journey, but that is not her responsibility to fix by staying at the level that makes them comfortable, and that she is allowed to have disappointment, sadness, and grief around those people choosing their comfort over their relationship with her. And we are all allowed to make that space for ourselves. So I guess I just wanted to share that. I don't have a huge thing beyond that to say. I think I said a lot. But hopefully you have some aha moments and some takeaways from this. When people talk about fear of success, I think what a big part of what they're really talking about is a fear of loneliness that will come with their success, and a knowing that there are people that they love who will not be able to support them as they succeed. And I want to hear more people talking about this. I want to hear it normalized that this is a real thing that happens and it's not our fault. But it is something that we have to navigate and make space to process so that we can keep growing and pursuing our dreams. If this was helpful for you, please leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. And again, I will put that Boundaries for Business Owners course in it's not even a course, it's just a masterclass. It's a couple hours, it's a workbook. You can grab it. It's Pay What You Can starting at $1. Very, very helpful for navigating growing a business and pursuing success while dealing with other humans and having emotions. So make sure that you check that out. Thank you so much. If this was helpful for you, again, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Okay, love you. Bye.